As U.S. Special Forces launched a daring operation to capture Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro, a second front opened almost instantly, not overseas, but at home. Within minutes, a coordinated information, psychological, and propaganda campaign erupted across the United States, driven by a hardened network of self-described Marxist, socialist, and communist groups. A Fox News digital analysis of their minute-by-minute activity shows a rapid, disciplined rollout. Posters, messaging, and calls to action flooding social media, mobilizing supporters for an emergency day of action in New York City, Washington, D.C., and nearly 100 other cities nationwide. This was not a spontaneous protest. It moved with the precision of a military operation. At 1:35 a.m., just as U.S. forces landed in Venezuela, Breakthrough News, a socialist propaganda outlet, released early footage of the strikes, branding the operation an illegal bombing campaign of Caracas. The narrative was set. 10 minutes later, at 1:45 a.m., Manolo de los Santos, executive director of the People's Forum, a New York-based socialist nonprofit, echoed the same talking point online: illegal bombing. By 2:29 a.m., the Answer Coalition issued a red siren alert on X, unveiling a slick poster urging supporters into Times Square to protest in defense of Maduro. "No war on Venezuela. Stop the bombings," it read. Minutes later, the People's Forum amplified the call: emergency protest. By 2:43 a.m., the Party for Socialism and Liberation joined in: stop the bombings. Lawmakers are already investigating this network for alleged ties to Neville Roy Singham, a U.S.-born tech executive now based in Shanghai, whose critics say his work aligns closely with Chinese Communist Party interests. Singham did not respond to requests for comment. By 6:09 a.m., Code Pink, founded by Singham's wife, condemned what it called the terrorist United States. Military intelligence experts say the pattern is unmistakable: synchronized messaging, staggered releases, and a rapid shift from online agitation to street mobilization, hallmarks of a pre-positioned influence operation. Their mission, experts say, is not armed conflict, but legitimacy warfare, shaping public perception, pressuring U.S. leadership, and advancing a foreign ideological agenda during a moment of crisis. At the center of this domestic front is the International People's Assembly, a global umbrella linking communist parties, socialist movements, activist groups, and state-aligned media worldwide. At 7:49 a.m., it promoted the emergency day of action, followed by a statement condemning the U.S. as hyper-imperialist and urging resistance by any means necessary. As the day unfolded, politicians aligned with the Democratic Socialists of America echoed the narrative. By 8:49 a.m., Code Pink declared "hands off Venezuela," dismissing criminal cases against Maduro as a sham. At 8:57 a.m., the DSA shared comments from Representative Rashida Tlaib calling the strike illegal. At 10:29 a.m., Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez added, "It's about oil and regime change." And at 1:06 p.m., New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani repeated the same line, condemning the capture of Maduro as an act of war and blatant regime change. Then came the final image. As the jet carrying Maduro and his wife touched down at Stewart Airport in New Windsor, New York, DEA agents boarding the plane, the live stream caption read, "Anti-war protests sweep U.S."
The capture of Venezuela's president is no longer just a regional crisis. It has triggered a global diplomatic confrontation. Now, China has broken its silence after U.S. forces captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Calling the move a blatant use of force, China says Washington has crossed a serious line. China says it is deeply shocked. In a sharply worded statement, Beijing condemns the U.S. military strike on Venezuela and the capture of its president. China's foreign ministry calls the action a blatant violation of international law, saying Venezuela's sovereignty has been trampled. Beijing accuses Washington of hegemonic behavior, warning that the move threatens peace and security across Latin America and the Caribbean. China says it firmly opposes the use of force against a sovereign state and rejects any justification offered by the United States. Earlier, Iran and Russia launched a scathing attack on U.S. over its Venezuela operation. Tehran's foreign ministry issued a lengthy condemnation, calling the attack a clear breach of Venezuela's sovereignty and international law. Iran describes the operation as unlawful, warning that such actions undermine global stability and set a dangerous precedent. Russia also responded swiftly and forcefully. In a rare early morning statement, Moscow accused the United States of committing armed aggression. The Russian Foreign Ministry rejects Washington's justification outright, calling it untenable. Moscow says ideological hostility has replaced diplomacy and warns that escalation could spiral beyond control. From Beijing to Tehran to Moscow, major powers are lining up against Washington's move.
Donald Trump posted a Venezuela raid video showing multiple blasts in capital Caracas. Minutes later, he follows up with a photo he claims shows Nicolas Maduro in U.S. custody. And then comes the statement, the clearest signal yet of Washington's intentions. The first post is a video. A Venezuela raid, multiple blasts, heavy fire, all soundtracked to Fortunate Son. Donald Trump puts it online himself. The footage spreads instantly. The timing appears deliberate. No official briefing, just the visuals, the music, and the message. Then comes the image. Trump posts a photo on his Truth Social platform. A blindfolded man seated. Trump identifies him as Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. The caption reads, Nicolas Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima. No further details are provided. Within hours, Trump escalates again, this time with words. Trump announced U.S. is going to run Venezuela until a safe transition of power can take place.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones, like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently. in an operation known as Midnight Hammer, all perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave, and we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that. And the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries, and not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines, and the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot. By a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. Our precision and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich. And they've made our national security stronger than ever before. Capacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just fair, even to their people. The dictator and terrorist, Maduro, is finally gone, and Venezuela people are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation this morning. It's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in a ready, what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela, and that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind. We've had decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually.